Welcome back. We're getting right to some talking points in our next panel. General Sutton says Mayor de Blasio's biggest weak spot has been his inability to follow through on ideas. Here to break down my interview with her are Javier Lacayo, a vice president at SKD Knickerbocker, and J.C. Polanco, a professor at the Borough of Manhattan Community College. Gentlemen, welcome. You were sort of surprised by the criticism that General Sutton had for the mayor. Why?
Yeah, you know, I think that General Sutton's biggest challenge in the upcoming primary is going to be showing daylight between herself and de Blasio. Her biggest accomplishment and biggest experience within city government has been working underneath the mayor. Like she said, he has trouble getting things done, and so I think it's going to be a difficult balancing act for her to draw some differences with him.
TC.
I don't think it's that difficult. I mean, the fact of the matter, she's a brigadier general. She has 30 years in the Army. She's led the startup agency. She has a very unique experience. And I think one thing that every New Yorker and every American can do is find flaws in Mayor de Blasio. I mean, it's not that difficult. I think she was very kind when you were asking her those questions, to be honest. I mean, there are a lot of things we can talk about. We can talk about our homelessness crisis. We could talk about our infrastructure. We could talk about our subway.
But she also blamed him for hurting his dialogue, hurting police-community relations. It wasn't just operations. She said he's responsible for the fact that cops are disrespected.
Yeah, and actually, what actually really stuck out to me that she said is that she seemed to say that the administration operates by press release and looking at the political before actually following through. I think that criticism can be taken to his remarks regarding the police officers. And that, to me, was the underlying sort of criticism underneath what she was trying to say.
I think that's a very good example. Listen, I know that when I ran for public advocate in 2017, I made it an issue. I said, look, this mayor attacked our police by somehow creating an appearance that the police are out there just discriminating against young Black and Hispanic males when so many of our police are young Black and Hispanic male. It sent the wrong message as the chief executive officer for the city. And I know a lot of police officers were angry. I think she made a good point. And again, it's not that difficult to point out these criticisms.
Was it brave of her, as a former member of the de Blasio administration, to take him on so forcefully right to his face?
Marsha, it's brave of her to serve 30 years in the Army, not to take Mayor de Blasio. I take him on right now. I'm not that brave, Marsha. I've got to be honest with you.
Javier.
Yeah, and certainly she was brave, but I still think that she's going to have to be more forceful in her criticism of the mayor. You know, you asked her what's his biggest failure, and she had a little bit of trouble finding an answer there. And I think, you know, like
I think it was a reluctance at first, but then she sort of got into it.
Right. And like JC says, there's so many things that this mayor has gotten wrong, and she's going to have to lean into those because that's going to be the energy, and that's going to be what the Democratic primary voters are going to be hungry for.
So look, I want to switch topics. We had a big debate this week. The Democratic presidential candidates had a new person on stage, Michael Bloomberg. He was a punching bag. Mm-hmm. Your take on his performance?
Look, I think you cannot talk about the implosion of Michael Bloomberg on Wednesday night without talking about the incredible performance that Elizabeth Warren executed. She showed everyone exactly what she would do to Donald Trump on that debate stage.
I'd like to play one of the exchanges between them because I think our viewers would like to see it. So let's take a listen.
We have a very few non-disclosure agreements.
How many is that?
Let me finish.
How many is that?
None of them accuse me of doing anything other than maybe they didn't like the joke I told.
We are not going to beat Donald Trump with a man who has who knows how many non-disclosure agreements and the drip, drip, drip of stories of women saying they have been harassed and discriminated against. That's not what we do as Democrats.
So do you think that was the lowest point in the debate for Michael Bloomberg? And does he need a better answer next week when he debates on CBS?
In all fairness, Mayor Bloomberg hasn't debated in a very long time. He hasn't even attacked his fellow Democratic candidates.
But isn't that a strategy? Isn't it a strategy to say, I'm only going after Donald Trump, not the rest of the Democratic
But that's what I don't know what happened behind the room. I know there's a story this morning by Peter.
Is that a bad strategy?
It's a good strategy because he's trying to show that he can unite the party. But he didn't show that he can take on his fellow Democrats on stage. The problem is this: those other Democrats just gave President Trump all the ammunition he needs in a general election, because if Michael Bloomberg does pull this off, he's just going to run all of these sound bites from that debate last night and just show everybody what fellow Democrats think about the mayor. I think that although you're right, I think we saw some fire in Senator Warren. She may have played into President Trump's hand.
I completely disagree. I think that Democratic primary voters have actually been looking for the energy that we saw on the debate stage on Wednesday night.
And was this the first time we really saw it?
I think so. And look, Michael Bloomberg has essentially been running a campaign on television ads. This is the first time that he's actually had to get in the arena with folks, and it shows that he's utterly unprepared in my mind.
Oh my goodness, that's not true at all. This is a man who was mayor of New York City for 12 years after 9/11, has an incredible record, and he's running on that record. The fact that he's spending his own money.
Yeah, but he never mentioned his incredible record through the entire
I don't know
debate.
what happened there. Listen, look, that debate was a disaster. And I think that either he was ill-prepared, but there's no way possible that he can do that again. He has a good story to tell. He should have said that story. Some of these answers it was amateur hour. This was a case he needed to make. He needed to lay the foundation. On Stop and Frisk, tell people why you were in favor of it and tell people why you changed your mind. On the NDA, tell people that you have hundreds of thousands of workers and that you regret what happened and that you want to move on and talk about your women's issues and how you attacked them, how you promoted them.
Was Stop and Frisk a deal breaker for Democrats going forward?
Look, I think that clearly Democratic voters were reminded of how horrible that policy was on Wednesday night's debate. But look, I think that with Bloomberg, it's a bigger issue. This is a man that showed on Wednesday night that he clearly never apologizes or has to apologize for anything that he has done in his political career. He couldn't even address the underlying issue of what he did wrong on Stop and Frisk. He was sorry for how it turned out.
No, he
So look, we have about
said.
30 seconds left. I have to ask you just one question. Can Michael Bloomberg come back and pull it out? You first, you next. Quick.
Sure. Look, if we go to a brokered convention, if he really amasses it on Super Tuesday, there's a possibility. But I don't think that that's going to be a strategy to beat Donald Trump in November.
Donald Trump is a monster who will have billions of dollars in free media and in donations. You need someone who has a record, who has the experience, who'll be able to go toe-to-toe with him. And if you guys had fun during your debate last time beating him up, you've made a big mistake because you've just given that monster tons of ammunition to use against
Is Michael
whoever the
Bloomberg going to
Democrat
be
is in
able to
general.
overcome the first debate?
Absolutely. Never underestimate the mayor.
I don't know what's going to happen. I think we need to wait to see a few more post-debate polls. Obviously, he's not on the ballot in the next two early states, but I think he has a lot to be worried about. And I think that a lot of the Democratic voters that were inflating some of his polls are taking a very hard second look.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it right there.